What's going on? So today we're going to be reviewing the Air Jordan 6 Infrared 2019 OG Retro Replica versus Retail. Now, if you cannot tell, the retail pair is on the left. The retail pair is on the left, the rep's on the right. Obviously, they're fucking icy blue as shit. So my pair has aged. Nothing too crazy, but it definitely has aged. I tried to keep them in pretty good condition. I mean, they're not super bad. I've seen a lot worse pairs. You could be able to get a new pair, but honestly, I don't think it would be this blue. It'd probably be a little bit more translucent. I also feel like the replica blue is a bit more milky than how they're supposed to be. But overall, let's get right into it. They're pretty close. These are a half size difference. Rep's got a little beat up, so nothing too crazy in terms of that, but there are some notable differences, right? So this tongue seems to be a bit more glossy. You kind of see that compared to the retail. The texture is also a lot more noticeable on the rep. You can see that texture right there compared to the retail. Tongue feels a little bit smaller and feels a bit more hard. Also, the cuts you can see are pretty sloppy compared to the retail. Look at that. There's no can't see that little fabric right there, so that's also a difference. Jumpman looks pretty fine, to be honest. Cushioning feels fine. Maybe I think I see the cuts are again a little bit sloppier, a little bit thicker. This is the retail, this is the rep. It just feels a little bit like there's a little bit extra. The toe box right here around the stitching area on the rep, you can see it's a lot wider and a bit again more sloppy compared to the retail. On the left, you can see it's not that big of a gap. Like you can see this big ass gap right there. So that's one that I'm noticing right now. Another thing, I don't know if this is on camera, but this almost has a bit of a blue hue to it, sort of similar to this little fucking middle piece. But this middle piece again is not the same color. You can kind of see that this is a more black, sort of gray kind of color to it, while this is kind of a bit more of a bluish hue to it, if you will. Shape is also a little bit off, nothing too crazy, but it is off. You can just kind of see that already. Look at the paneling, the cuts. Replica cut looks a lot wider, a lot bulkier, things like that. You can definitely already see that. I also think that right here you can see that this lining is a bit glossy on the replica compared to the retail. Almost looks like they're two different materials. The materials also do feel a little bit different. This one seems to, the rep pair is actually softer. The retail is a bit more firm. So you can also see in a weird way, this one, it just feels a bit more flimsy. It's not as intact. You can kind of see that. This is a bit more built for basketball. You can tell this one's built to look as accurate as possible, but it might not perform that well. Also a little sloppy on this right here. The retail pair is basically a perfect U. The rep, it's a little crooked a little bit. I don't know if that varies from retail pairs. Y'all let me know. But yeah, the stitching also on this retail pair looks, I don't even know how to fucking describe that. I'm not gonna lie, that shit looks crisp as fuck and like sleek. This is the retail. Now look at the rep. I don't know how it looks so basic. It's almost like the stitches are going like in a different area, like they're kind of going diagonally compared to just going straight down here on the replica. But overall, like even this panel of the shoe comes up a lot more on the replica than on the retail. I feel like that's also what kind of makes the shape look a little odd. Kind of see it better here. It just doesn't look as accurate, but I think that's why this panel comes up a little bit too much compared to on the retail pair where it doesn't. I'm sure if you relace these and style these up, they'll probably look just as good. And again, you know, price difference for everybody. I'm pretty sure that's what is the main source of these two differences. Something about this just, it's actually harder on the Rep. You see that on the retail pair? Let me put them back. On the retail pair, you have a lot more flexibility, and on the Rep, you can see it's a bit more firm. You know, just a little bit harder. But overall, pretty solid. But there are some differences. Rep 6s usually aren't too popular. Also, look at this lining on the retail. You can see, like I said, it's almost blue. This is definitely a lot more black. Insoles are the fucking same. And also the stitching right here on that top part, you can see that it's a bit more blue, or the lining. But overall, it's a pretty close one in terms of distance, and if you fucking style it up right, these are pretty much gonna do the job. But if you're looking for something to hoop in, I would not recommend that. Also, the stitching seems to be a bit more big and embroidered more. If you can see that Nike is actually fucking huge compared to the retail pair. Swoosh is also pretty big. Air is pretty big. You can see this one's almost flat, but you can definitely see the Nike Air on that. So yeah, there's actually a lot of notable differences as well. This one feels smaller. I don't know if that's the case, but it definitely does feel smaller. You can also see the stitching right here on the retail pair, whereas on the Rep you can't really see it as much. So yeah, and then it looks like this Rep has this little line right here in the middle. The retail pair, I do not see that. So yeah, like I said, definitely some differences. If you're going for price point, obviously one is going to be cheaper than the other, but rightfully so. You know, it has its reasons. Y'all let me know if you guys saw any other differences and what y'all are trying to see, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.